Hiya, my name is Anya, and I'm here to lay something spiritual on ya. So, if you were here for my last video, you'll know a little bit more about the holiday called Beltane, which we are approaching here in the Northern Hemisphere. In the Northern Hemisphere, Beltane hits on May 1st. In this video, what I'd like to do is talk to you a little bit about ways you can celebrate Beltane this year if you so choose. So in my last video, I talked a little bit about what ancient peoples would have been doing in order to celebrate this holiday in ancient times. Let me go over a few of those again so we can talk about how we can integrate some of these ideas into our modern celebrations or honoring of this time of the year. So at Beltane, a lot of people would have been dimming and putting out the fires in their own homes and hearths because they knew a bonfire would have been lit in honor of this big holiday. Beltane was a big holiday for ancient peoples because it is this unofficial start to summer, because it's the knowledge that no more coldness, no more darkness, we're here in the light part of the year. So the bonfire would have been lit on Beltane, and people would have been coming and dancing over the fires, leaping over fires. Livestock would have been come to be blessed and honored for this time of year. People would have taken torches, lit the torches from the Beltane bonfire, and brought that fire into their homes as a way to bring in this official blessed light and heat source into their homes. There's also a big one that a lot of people have seen the imagery for, and that's dancing around the maypole. So if you're familiar with this, it's the big pole representing the masculine or the male aspect of divinity, and the ribbons that are weaved around this pole in a dance. And the ribbon would have represented the female or the feminine aspect of this divine union. Because Beltane is all about celebrating and honoring fertility and life, and hey, life comes from fertility and sex as well. So that is a big part of this holiday and what we're honoring and celebrating. In addition, holy wells might have been visited. People would be doing hand fasting and committing themselves to their partners for the summer months, which might have led to marriages in summer or autumn. Something I'd like to talk about in this video is the Beltane fire festivals, which a lot of people may be familiar with today. Beltane and the bonfires that were lit in them were done in Scotland quite a bit up until the 1800s. I believe the last Beltane fire occurred in Scotland in the 1870s. However, in 1988, the Beltane Fire Festival and bonfire was brought back into Edinburgh at Calton Hill, and it has only grown in popularity since then. At its renewal in 1988, it might have seen a few hundred visitors. Now the celebration has expanded. There are a lot more performers and things to be seen at the fire festival for Beltane in Edinburgh, but the number of people who attend now goes into the thousands. So at this fire festival, what usually happens, or at least what happens the one year that I got to attend, there are a lot of people performing with fires, fire breathers, fire dancers, things like that. But you also have the symbology of a woman dressed up as the May Queen, and she's meant to represent that feminine energy. And you have the Green Man, who is sort of courting her this entire time, and this bringing the life back to the earth. It's all kind of seen in this progression as you follow these two on their progression through Calton Hill. However, you also see people painted. Some people are painted blue and some people are painted red. The people who are painted red are wearing significantly less clothes, and the people in blue are pretty covered and things like that. As far as I remember, this was a few years ago, and a lot of people there. It's kind of hard to see some things. But what it's meant to symbolize is the red people coming in, who are all being very lascivious, shall we say, who are all sort of dancing throughout the evening in very sexual ways, and they're all kind of moving and walking and coming into the area in all very sexually charged ways. This is meant to symbolize the heat, the fire coming back into the world. And heat and fire, yes, it's representative of warmth that the sun gives us, but it's also meant to represent the things that light us up, the things that spark our fire, the things that light us up and make us feel alive. And for many people, that is sex. Sex is something that lights our passions and gets us excited. So these red people, these fire people, they're meant to represent, yes, the heat coming back into the world again, the warmth that the sun provides us. But fire as an element is also representative of our passions, our goals, our desires, the things that set us alight. And for humanity, sexuality should be a part of that. It should be an exciting and passionate aspect of ourselves. So that's what this imagery of these red people, the fire people, coming in and overtaking the blue people, who are meant to represent the cold time of the year, the dark time of the year. It's meant to represent this fire taking over and pushing them out. And here we are in the warm time of year, and our own fire can take over. So if you've ever been to the festival and thought, what the heck is going on here? That's sort of what it's meant to represent. So all this to say, what can you do to bring some aspect of Beltane into your life, whether or not you want to bring anything sexual into your life? I totally get that some people might not want to bring that aspect into their own celebration and honoring of this festival. Well, the first thing I tell you guys in all of these videos, meditate, reflect, journal, take time to think about what this time of the year means to you. If you are using the Wheel of the Year to map out and work through your own goals and ambitions for the year, check out the video I have on that. To be meditating and reflecting and journaling and things like that at this time of the year, you might want to think about, how far have you come? Where are you seeing growth? Especially from, the start of the year when you first started working on these goals. Are you really starting to see those flowers come into bloom? Are you really starting to see a difference in the things that you've been actively working on? Even if it's not recognition from other people, where are you seeing yourself having grown? This is important to be documenting this along the way. So that's a good thing to be thinking about at Beltane, and it's something you can also meditate on. Your own growth. What do you have to do? How far have you come, but where do you still want to go? Are there things you need to change up? Remember, when we're talking about goals and things we want to achieve, it's not always about just staying on the one path and sticking to it and then just not changing at all. Sometimes we find that the way we've been going isn't really working, and we have to find another way if we still want to achieve that goal. That's something you can reflect on and meditate on during this time of year. Obviously, another one I always recommend, if you have an altar, it's a good time of the year to be changing your altar. In terms of colors, greens and bright colors, things that remind you of life returning. That's another thing I want to stress in this video. If I list a color for the time of the year, that's usually what is, representative at the time of the year for the holiday. But your altar should be personal to you and what makes you feel connected to the holiday. So if bright colors don't feel like a renewal of life and that exciting energy, then pick the colors that work for you. Obviously, lighting candles and having brightly colored candles at your altar for Beltane is a great thing as well. But the big thing is the reminder of life coming back. So decorating it with some flowers or some plants that you might be tending to in your own house. That would be a great way to bring some life back into it. Lighting a fire, or if all you have is a candle, that's great too. Remember, Beltane is a fire festival, and it's one where our ancestors would have been using the fires of Beltane to light their own homes. So if you have a candle specifically that you'd love to burn for Beltane, bless it and look at it as though this is your Beltane fire and you're bringing it into your home. Light it, meditate with it, connect to that energy. That's a great way to honor it in a quiet, private celebration of your own. I could suggest finding a bonfire, in your area to go to, but that may or may not happen. So candles always work. If you have the wood burning stove like I did at Yule, that's another thing you can do as well. Again, it's a reflection of the light, the heat, the warmth coming back into the world, and recognizing it and honoring it and keeping that light present in your life and in yourself. Another thing you can do in terms of something like a maypole. So not everyone's gonna have a maypole or a maypole ceremony to join in. I totally understand that. But you could work with different things you might have in your home if you want to bring in that energy of the sort of divine union of masculine and feminine, that sort of fertile energy as well. For example, find a stick or a wooden pole of some kind. Not anything big, you don't need anything massive, just, something that you can bring into your own home, your own space, and take some different brightly colored ribbon and just sort of wrap it around. Do this as sort of a meditative practice. Think about it. Think about what the time of the year means to you and what aspects of fertility are important to you. And that doesn't have to be childbearing or having kids. Fertility to you can mean bringing new ideas to life. We forget that fertility doesn't always mean having babies. Fertility can sometimes just mean creative. It can be creating a new art piece, painting something new. It can be writing a new story. It can be making YouTube videos. Fertility is also about what you are birthing into the world in terms of bringing something new into it. And that's not just life. That is also just sometimes art of some kind. And you can reflect on this idea by taking a stick and some brightly colored ribbon and just thinking about the aspects of creativity as you're wrapping these different ribbons in a pattern along this stick. And when you're done, take that and put that on your altar to remind yourself, as we continue into these summer months, what it means to you. And use it as a wand if you're struggling with your own creative aspect or development. It's also a great time of the year to make commitments and promises to yourself or to another. So if you and your partner are interested in dedicating some time to be more committed to one another, you might consider doing a private hand fasting in the ways that our ancestors would have thought of them. So a symbolic tying of the hands together with ribbon and just making the commitment that we are more committed to each other in these months. Doesn't necessarily mean you're married, or it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be married, but it can just represent an extra layer of commitment between you two. But I could also say you could consider even doing a hand fasting with yourself. I don't know that anyone does this, but I'm very big into people being committed to themselves and the things they're working on. So why not? Why couldn't you do a hand fasting commitment with yourself? A reaffirmation of the things that you are working on in yourself. This could be healing, this could be self-growth and self-awareness. This could be just working on your goals or committing yourself to the things you want to achieve in the rest of this year. It could just be a recommitment and a reaffirmation to yourself. So that's something else I think you should be able to do at this time during Beltane. Finally, bake something. Bake something because, oh my goodness, it's nice to just bake something at the different festivals and holidays and remind ourselves the time and energy and commitment it takes to make things. The festivals on the Wheel of the Year, I think, are just great times to remind us of the benefits of building something with our own hands. And baking is a great way to do that, especially if you're baking something from scratch. And if it's something that can be put outside as an offering, say it's something like bread, something that animals could eat, maybe take a small portion of it and make it as an offering. That's something I always recommend at these holidays anyway. So those are a few things to hopefully give you some ideas of ways you can celebrate Beltane this year if you so choose. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to y'all later. Anya out. Bye!